From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. All right, TheraPals, get out your lucky bingo stamper and pull out your Jim's neurotic bingo card because today, Jim is dressed like a leprechaun. We will run through a differential diagnosis and try to make sense of this cabbage and corned beef craziness. And now, broadcasting from the churn, that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some pod therapy.
So if you had dissociated identity disorder, stamp it! One day somebody's going to create this.
Yeah. I hope so.
We have fun, Nick. We have fun.
Yeah. But,
I like our little games.
So for all of you listening, Jim actually is dressed up like a leprechaun.
I am dressed as a leprechaun. I got my buckle shoes. I got my black stockings, my green pants, and I got a green shirt with like a cool vest built in with like little shamrocks. I have a dyed orange beard, and then I got my little top hat here. And it's because there is a road in Las Vegas called Rainbow Boulevard. And my brother-in-law is stationed at the north end of Rainbow, and I am stationed at the south end of Rainbow. We have pots of gold, and we've been giving kids little gold coins and taking selfies with families. And it is extremely innocent and good. And so lots of families enjoy this. It is cute.
It's so innocent.
If either of you had kids,
have to mention it.
Your first thought would not be a bad one. I promise you, if we asked Matt right now, he'd go, "That's weird," but also, where is it? Like, I'm bringing my kids. Like, we're gonna do this.
How long have you had this outfit?
Just like a week. I bought it on Amazon. Just like a week. That's all I've been doing.
Ask him how long he's had this plan.
Okay, that's years. Yeah. So every year on St. Patty's, I'll be like driving outside and there's Rainbow Boulevard and I live near the end of it. And I always think like, God, why has nobody done this yet? Like somebody should do it. And a lot of parents agree. No, yeah. A lot of parents agree. All the people that have come taking selfies with me today, they're like, oh, this is a great idea. It's a pond. This is great. You know, so like, it's fun. It's fun. See? So it's wholesome. Okay. Good, wholesome, fun.
Okay,
I'm sorry, it's not a hobo convention, Nick.
I think if the parents go there with the kid, yes, they think, oh, this is all good and fun.
This is fun.
I imagine
nobody lets their kids out on their own.
No, I imagine a kid coming home and saying, hey, there's this nice man at the end of Rainbow Boulevard dressed as a leprechaun giving out candy to children.
It's not candy. I give out gold coins. But you're still not wrong. You're still not wrong.
They're not the candy gold coins?
No. Those would melt. It's so hot outside, dude. It's ridiculous.
It is not.
When you're standing in the sun for
dressed
4
as
hours.
A leprechaun.
Yeah, unshielded in this outfit. It is hot. It is very hot.
That outfit does not look like it breathes.
Oh, no, it does not. It does
it's just
not.
Plastic.
I have like a little sign on my post. Like, so I'm stationed right at Rainbow and Star. And so, like, it's, that's where everybody likes to take the pictures because you can see the sign. But then I have, like, this sign up that says South Leprechaun, hashtag end of Rainbow. And then my brother-in-law has one that says North Leprechaun, hashtag end of Rainbow. But I put up a little sign that says back at 2 o'clock. So I'm honoring my responsibilities. I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm here.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of the show, we will discuss what we did last night, Nick, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, at the end. Okay.
Yeah. That was lovely last night.
Yeah, that was lovely.
I feel good about
more
it.
fun than Jim dressed up as a leprechaun?
It was pretty fun.
Not for me.
I had a good time.
I'm just going to tell you right now, whatever it is.
I
liked that. I liked that more.
Well, the leprechaun outfit was not included, but could have been. Could have spiced things up a little bit more, but. So we are starting off the show in a different way, not in the sense that Nick is not shoving something in his mouth, because right now he's doing that.
It's a shamrock shake.
Shamrock shake, because it is St. Patty's.
It is.
So good for. I need to go get one too.
I went to McDonald's, but they're out of Guinness, so I had to get that.
Yeah, I'll have the Guinness and the McCabbage and corned beef.
Yeah.
How about a shamrock shake? Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. What does it taste like? It tastes like mint?
Yeah, it's basically just green mint.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get one, I think. But yeah, I'd rather have that than a Guinness.
Oh, no, I love Guinness.
Oh, Guinness is gross. It's like a loaf of bread.
No, Guinness is amazing.
Bought some Guinness last night at the ye old grocery store.
Ye old. Oh, you go to that one too?
Yeah.
Smythe's.
And they had the 200th anniversary Guinness there as well.
Oh,
so I got a
wow.
6-pack of that as well. So I'm looking forward to trying
You're
that.
all
tonight.
set. Your St. Patty's is good.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was out.
I didn't
Yeah.
either.
Not all of us get to own our own grocery store. But Jacob,
That's right.
big deal. Smith's. Market fresh every day.
Yep.
So we're starting off the show in a little bit different way. And so our buddies over at Grunt Works podcast, which Nick, you were a guest on recently, they actually recorded for us a question.
Yes,
and so
they
this is
did.
a first, and depending upon how this goes, maybe we can invite all the listeners. Hey, this could be a new format, as you guys can just record it on your phone really quick and email it to PodTherapyGuys, and we can just play it on the show. I like that idea a lot.
I do too.
Yeah, as long as we keep it probably under 90 seconds. So let's try it out. So do we have it queued up? We're able to do it?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hey guys, this is Landon from Gruntwork, a podcast about the TV show Home Improvement. Yes, that's right, that 90s TV show starring Tim Allen. I don't have an answer as to why we do what we do, but we do what we do. Anyway, we want to thank Nick for being on our show recently. Jim, we were sorry to have missed you and hate to break up the band. But Nick came on and he gave us some professional insight into the topics that we deal with on a week-to-week basis with this show, that being toxic masculinity, male bonding, communication in marriage, that sort of thing. We're really, really excited to release it, and that'll come out sometime in April. So, Nick, thank you. Jim, we hope we can have you in the future. I've been kicking myself for not asking you a question on our show, and I was wondering if I can get your guys' insight into it now. And that topic is humor, and using humor as a defense mechanism, both in terms of defending yourself as like self-preservation, using humor like gallows humor, as doctors use sometimes, or defensive in the way of protecting yourself when confronted, using it by saying, don't take it so seriously. Why are you taking it so personally? It's just a joke. And using it as kind of a shield. I would love to know what your thoughts are on humor when it's used in those ways, and what is a healthy way to kind of infuse humor in your relationships. Thank you guys. Congratulations on all the success. Love the show. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, cool. Gruntworks
Thank you, Landon.
podcast. Gruntworks podcast, a podcast dedicated to home improvement.
And for their Patreons, they've started a side project, which is Frasier.
Ooh. We should be invited to that. I want to do the Frasier one. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I told somebody what our podcast was the other day, and I was trying to explain it, and they were like, so like Frasier? And I was like, yeah, but I guess less serious? Like, even less serious than
Imagine
Frasier?
Frasier, but far less successful.
Yeah. yeah, there you go. So,
Like, we have other jobs.
yeah. This is not what we do. Yeah, so a lot like that. So, cool question. So, the question being the idea of comedy. And so using comedy in sort of that defensive way, like how do we push people away, or how do we like protect ourselves, or gallows humor, how do we break up the tension of a moment with comedy? Mm-hmm. And that's definitely a huge thing. I think a lot of people would relate to that.
Yeah, definitely part of culture, part of how you're raised, part of your family. I mean, how your family deals with it.
Right.
Some of the funniest moments of my life have been at funerals.
Oh, okay.
Because
that statement took a sharp turn.
Yeah, it did. But because my family, especially my dad's side of the family, uses humor a lot as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And so being at a funeral, there are so many jokes.
Everybody's cracking jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's just kind of a way that we have always kind of dealt with serious topics.
Yes.
Is to kind of make a joke and kind of deflect a little bit.
I get that. I totally get I mean, I definitely do this. Like, even as he was describing it, and I was thinking, yeah. And I know for me, like, I'm not funny, but I try to diffuse moments or like
it's
block
funny
tension.
though. That doesn't stop you.
No, that's not the point. Yeah, you'll notice he said attempting comedy, like not landing anything. Like, that just makes it worse. Everybody's just staring at me as I'm trying. But no, I remember at a young age doing that because I was getting bullied. And I remember like, gosh, I think kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, I lived in Texas. And at that point, I was doing really good in my life, and I felt like I knew who I was, and I was getting good grades, and everything was cool. Then my family suddenly had to move, and when we came to Las Vegas, we were dead broke. We were homeless. And so like we actually lived in a basement in Boulder City. And I think from that point, I like lost myself and like was living in a basement, like no bigger than the studio, probably half the size of the studio. And like going to one school and then being made fun of because I had a Texas accent and all this stuff. And like I was dumb compared to all these other kids because I'd been out of school for like half the year and like all this stuff. So I remember about third grade, that's when I started developing this like sense of deflective humor. And like my dad was a pretty funny guy because he was like a salesman. And so like I started using this like humor to sort of like when kids would tease me or whatever, I would like make a better joke, right? Or like take it back to them or just like make a joke, keep the class laughing. And if I did that enough, I think it almost warded people away. It was almost like, well, don't mess with Jim too much. They called me Jimmy back then, but don't mess with him too much because like the dude will roast you, right? And I would roast like the biggest bully in class like that way, and then they'd still like beat me up, but like, maybe I provoked it. Now that I look back, I'm starting to put a lot of things together.
Thank you for this question, Landon. We're learning a lot about Jim.
These days, Jim has found other ways to get people to leave him alone.
Jacob, you're a really funny guy. I mean, obviously, you're really good at comedy. It's a big part of your life.
Sure.
Is that something that when this writer or this question comes in and they talk about that being something we develop as almost a defense mechanism, do you relate to that at all?
Sure.
You do, yeah.
Of course, yeah. I think I'm not the first one to say it. I'm just repeating what other people have said. All comedy comes from pain.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
most
of
comedians, I think, or most people that are like entertainers and good at that, like, I think that there is something about that. I mean, I don't know if there's ever been kind of like a big survey done to really nail it, but I think it's a common anecdote. I think a lot of people tell that story.
And I don't know exactly where mine came from,
Huh.
but I don't have specific. Yeah, I wasn't bullied particularly. I would fight kids. I mean, I was a fighter, especially in middle school and that kind of thing.
Huh.
But I don't remember ever having kind of the conscious I
Like
need to start being
switch
funny
over.
type thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
But it just kind of evolved over time as
guess,
sort of
yeah.
a way to deflect people and like keep them off you. Yeah, it works.
He did mention using comedy. He said something about using comedy to attack people or
right.
like a joke or whatever.
As a defense,
Yeah.
like to play it off, it's just a joke. We're
Right,
so
that
upset.
kind of
Right.
defense.
Yeah.
And I did realize, and I made the conscious decision years ago, if someone didn't get a joke that I told and took it seriously and was upset by it,
Yeah.
that's my fault.
Yeah.
I
get that.
I never get to use the defense. No, it was a joke.
Right. Why are you taking it so seriously?
Right. The only
take
time
ownership
I
of
will
it.
I will put a caveat on that. The only time I will say that is if it's being sent over text. If it's being sent in like an
Then it's
email or,
like-
or a text message,
right.
something like that.
Yeah.
And someone literally just didn't realize that it was meant to be a joke.
Right.
No, that was a joke.
Yeah, there needs to be like a little icon that we
Right.
could like send that like tags it. But I totally get what you're talking about. Like I remember when I got into middle school, I think in elementary school and stuff, I had gotten like really like to this place of being insecure. And so like I was constantly roasting people and then it was like accidentally making me popular or something. And then like in middle school, I started a new middle school. This is where I met your girlfriend.
Oh.
So this was at Silvestri Middle School. She and I went there together. And right away, I was coming in and like roasting a couple of kids or something like that. Like there was some jackass kid, and we were all new, so it wasn't like anybody had an advantage. And it's like the first week of school, and then there's some kid trying to be cool and like assert himself, and I just like leveled this dude, and it was just a good like I had a good day of jokes or something. I couldn't be stopped.
Right.
And so everybody was like, "This dude's got it," and so like I realized, oh my god, I'm popular, and I was popular for I remember 2 weeks. That is how long it worked.
I was about to say, then day 2 rolls around.
And I remember consciously thinking, I am holding the tail of a tiger. Like, they are going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And
I have so much material.
I needed to, like, do enough joking and then pull back and get silent and brooding.
Yeah.
Like, I needed to balance this out so that people wouldn't catch on. But they eventually did figure it out. But I remember that ethical moment where I was like, wait a minute. Because there was this other kid that they were picking on, and he was, like, a legitimate, like, stereotypical nerd kid.
Right.
And so they were really being rough on him, and they were, like, trying to kind of get me in on it. And then I started turning like all my lasers at the bullies. And I did that for so long that I eventually lost control and the tiger got me.
I think we've talked about it on Ice Cream Social before. I know Matt and I have talked about it just personally, but there is something to being quick-witted that is a little bit dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is a little bit like, someone will say something smart-ass to me.
Yeah.
And, my first 20 instincts are to just, I have like, 20 things that instantly pop into my head that are just like, no, that'll just destroy this person. I should just laugh and
just censor all of these things that popped up in my mind.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's the great burden, I think, of the comedy person is learning censorship.
So
that's what comes in time.
So, Jacob, when that happened, when you made that decision that you're just not going to
destroy people,
how did you
I still destroy people.
the ones who have it coming.
No, the part about if they don't take the joke, that you're not going to defend it. How did you get to that conclusion?
Because I realized if somebody doesn't realize that it's a joke, or if someone doesn't think that I'm joking, it's probably because a little part of me isn't joking.
Right.
They're probably picking up on something there.
There's a passive aggressiveness.
Yeah, and I don't want to come across as that guy.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be that guy.
I agree.
So I just chose to not be that guy.
That was me in middle school. It was whenever I realized I'm not going to weaponize this. Like because I really devastated this bully kid and I really took him down a notch. And I was thinking he's invincible, right? Because I'm scared. Like I'm the kid that like got the first punch and now all of a sudden I'm like wailing on this dude. And people are like, "Why are you a bully?" And it's like, "No, I'm not. This is all defense." And it's like, "No, he's bleeding.
He stopped fighting.
He stopped fighting. Like you need to stop."
Yeah.
And so I realized I was taking it too far. And then it was like I had that kind of epiphany too, where I was like, "Okay, you know what? No, this is if somebody has it coming and justice needs to be served to tell them to back down, I'll shoot one across the bow. But otherwise, like just for fun, don't do it anymore."
That's not really what I mean, though.
Okay.
What I mean is like when someone says something that's just like, like, "Oh, look at you in your stupid leprechaun outfit."
Yeah.
And then you say,
for instance,
just picking that out of nowhere,
nowhere.
And then you might say, you might be hurt by that. You might have your feelings hurt by that, and you might express that back to me.
Yeah.
And then some people respond with, "Well, what like you said a minute ago, like, what are you talking about? I'm kidding around. What are you? Why are you upset
why are you
about
so
that?"
sensitive about it? Yeah.
And that's an asshole thing to do.
Right, to back out of it that fast. Like, own your joke. And
Right.
if they don't like it, then own that you delivered it in a way that wasn't funny.
Right.
Yeah, it was hurtful. I agree with that. I like
So,
that.
and
that's my. If you don't think it's funny, then that's my fault.
My delivery was poor.
Yeah.
Own it as the comedian. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's the audience's. They get the final say on whether it's fun.
That's fair. Yeah.
Regardless of the intent.
Yeah.
So I guess one thing.
Now I might still think it's real funny.
Yeah.
Sure.
That doesn't stop Jacob from falling over laughing.
I might tell the joke again later, but I'm still not gonna berate you for not thinking it's funny.
I'm gonna keep echoing this over and over again.
Yeah.
And then take a selfie of you crying in the corner.
No, the other day. So Ice Cream Social was at South by Southwest the other day. And And this is an example of when you can cut loose.
Right.
But we recorded an episode while we were there, and it was the three of us and several other people around, and then another evening, Brian Brushwood and Justin Robert Young, we were all hanging out, and those evenings we all just cut loose.
Oh yeah,
and just went. We'd go for 30, 40, 50 an hour at a time, just.
Well, when you
making
get
each other
a room full
cry.
of those kinds of people, that's like gladiator match. Like they're fine. Everybody signed the waiver.
There's
nothing off. Yeah, there's nothing off limits.
Just saying things that even we would not say in public.
Those people signed the waiver.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of comedians in a room. They signed the waiver.
Oh, you put comedians in a room and it's terrible.
No, that's the grudge match.
That's crazy. Well, and one of the things, too, we kind of talked about it when I was on their show. And part of what he's kind of talking about is the Tim Allen character.
Okay.
Right? And just how that it's constantly used as a defense.
Yeah.
And what does that really mean, that he's constantly using that as a defense? Like, it's just a joke. And I think in this particular case, one of the things that I would say is with that particular character, there's such a low level of awareness outside of himself.
Right.
It's very difficult for that individual to be able to relate to anything affecting anybody else other than himself. it's almost kind of a narcissistic type thing when you're saying like, well, it was just a joke. Well, you're only speaking to really that half of the equation, just your half, not really understanding or empathizing or even being aware of how the other half is interpreting anything.
Yeah.
Because it's not really on that person's agenda. It's all about, this is entertainment for me.
One of the things, I was a huge fan of Home Improvement, and one of the things I thought was neat about the way they did that show was Tim Allen would constantly drop a quick one-liner, and it would, bring levity to really dramatic moments. But every once in a while, they would let him do it, and the rest of the characters in the scene don't like it. And it like drops like a rock. And you see him backpedal. And, obviously the character Tim Allen's playing is doing this, but, the character sort of like realizes, I'm out of line. This is me not being comfortable with depth. And I think that for those who like do that, who have that defense mechanism, one of the things they probably have to learn, I know this was true for me, was learning to be serious and learning to like be okay with that and to not feel like that reflects on us and to be able to absorb that truth and be serious with other people without feeling the need to rescue them with comedy or to rescue oneself or to break the ice. And I remember there being some pretty powerful scenes where you can see the character suddenly having to be serious and seeing how awkward he is at it, that he just doesn't know how to feel what they're feeling and be true. And so it's a cool question, I think, because it really is a good show for like some psychoanalysis. So
yeah, actually, kind of digging into it, there's a lot more there than I really kind of thought there was.
Yeah, man, great question, Gruntworks. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for all your support and for putting up with Nick. I think that was very generous of you.
Yes, we appreciate that.
But awesome, guys. Thanks again for writing in. And future people, if you want to record something and send it in to us, just tap record on your phone. Try to keep it under 90 seconds. Make sure you're very easily understood. Make sure you tell us who you are, unless you want to be anonymous. And just email it to podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Thanks for writing in, guys.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will discuss sports harassment. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
This week's Theraproducer sponsor is Robert Brownie Jr. Mint. Robert was a 5th century Romano-British Christian missionary and bishop in Ireland. Known as the Apostle of Ireland, he is the primary patron saint of Ireland. When he was 16 years old, he was captured by Irish pirates from his home in Britain and taken as a slave to Ireland, looking after animals. By his account, he lived there for 6 years before escaping and returning to his family in Britain. Robert eventually returned to Ireland, probably settling in the west of Ireland, where, in later life, he became a bishop and ordained subordinate clerics. If you'd like to join Robert and make the show possible, ye can go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/therapy. We're back!
What the hell?
You're listening to Pod Therapy. Our next question. Shut up, I know I sound like a pirate.
We just talked on Ice Cream Social today about how none of us are good at doing accents.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
I have two phrases. I can say like top of the morning and like Happy St. Patty's Day. And I can do those like passing. And then also when the kids approach, I go, hey lads and lassies or something. And that's all I can do. And after that, I just go back to talking like me and parents are like, what? Like I have no repertoire.
Whenever I try to do an Irish accent, it starts off Irish and then by the end of it, it kind of starts getting into Russian.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mine always goes pirate. Yeah. It gets really weird. Like it just quickly devolves into Blackbeard the pirate. Hi guys, love the show and been listening since your appearance on Ice Cream Social. I have a question about officiating sports. I've been a baseball umpire for about 11 years and refereed hockey before that for about 6 years. I love officiating and I'm very passionate about baseball. I'm in a position with my experience to help out some of the younger umpires starting out, and I noticed a common thread. Namely, that the verbal abuse, and in some rare cases, physical abuse, is too much for a lot of people to handle. I've been officiating a long time, so it doesn't bother me that much anymore, but it used to affect me a lot. I've been called every name under the sun, and some that I actually have to give them credit for the originality of their insults. My question is, what are some things I can talk about with younger umpires to help them with the emotional stress of handling these kinds of situations? There's a significant shortage of officials, and putting an end to the abuse would be ideal, but it's hard to change other people's behaviors. All the best, the resident rules scoop, Mo. Great question. That's fun.
Have you ever officiated or?
I've coached like little kids soccer, and we kind of self-officiate during that. So yeah, but that's the closest I've come.
So I got
What's with those parents letting their kids be around Jim?
I have children. I was a teacher for 8 years.
Same question.
I'm a healthcare provider.
Yeah, that doesn't answer anything.
I don't go to therapy dressed as a leprechaun.
Why not?
Until tomorrow.
When he can't get the dye out of his beard.
Yeah. I'm committed now. I gotta keep doing this.
So when I was a junior in high school, I actually got licensed as an umpire.
Oh, cool.
In Nevada.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Nevada.
Iowa.
Okay,
Yeah.
Iowa, yeah. It was, I had to get an out-of-state license and transfer it back into Iowa.
A lot of road games.
They were too strict.
But yeah, that it sucks.
Yeah.
It really...
Did you get yelled at and stuff? Like
yeah.
Even though you were a kid?
I was a junior in high school. No, I think it was my senior year of high school. But I ended up umpiring junior high games.
You know, Eddie, my buddy, he
Yeah.
did the same thing. You guys are a lot alike.
I know.
A lot alike. You need to hang out.
I know. I was actually going to
Yeah.
see if you wanted to go golfing.
He'll golf
next week.
with you, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he
that's
umped
for-
when we were in high school. On weekends, he'd go ump, and I'd be like, you want to go? And he'd be like, no, I have to ump a game. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That was his little side gig. So
Yeah, I did that too.
So you got yelled at by the adults.
Oh, yeah. It was terrible.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, because every parent thinks their kid is the next,
Right.
Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And the only thing keeping him from achieving his goal is that umpire.
Yeah.
And then
because you got in the way.
Yeah, it is
That
so
was this
frustrating.
moment.
And you have to really get some thick skin quick and not take things personal.
Yeah.
And so I guess that would be my advice. But I think more importantly, the more important advice is to let them know right up front, hey, if you can't handle being yelled at, this isn't for you.
Yeah. That's
Probably
fair.
just weed them out right there.
Yeah.
Because people are not going to change.
Gosh.
Little league parents are not going to change.
I want to believe it's gotten better. I mean, like when I've taken my kids to Little League stuff, my son did t-ball, we did soccer, we've done hockey stuff. And like, I don't know. I think that it probably depends on, the state and where you're at and how competitive people really are. I know for us, one thing that really did make an effect, I remember it was a t-ball game. And the ref walked over to the sides where all the parents are sitting and introduced himself.
Oh.
And I thought that was really smart. Like he came over and he just kind of hollered at us. He said, hey, folks, my name is Mike. I'm going to be reffing your kids today. And he said, and he just shared a few words. He's like, I really love the game.
Don't be assholes.
Yeah, don't be assholes. But he's like, yeah, I have kids too. And, I do this because I enjoy the game and I want kids to have a chance to play. And do any of your kids have any special needs that I should know about? And, like things like that. And we were just like, no. And we just, okay, Mike, thanks. He's like, hey, guys, if you disagree with the call, I totally apologize, but let's keep it about the kids, okay? And now again, our kids were really little.
Yeah, this
I don't
sounds
think
like
at
this
like
is the
5,
little-
6 years old, people are being that nice. When your kid's 13, 15, and like the game's on the line, it's really competitive, then it's probably not.
Yeah, this is not a high school
easy.
thing, because I think high school parents would take that and use it against the
Yeah,
ref. Like,
yeah. I
Hey,
thought you loved
hey
the
guys,
game, Mike.
I'm having a bad day because my wife just left me, so if I make some bad calls, that's probably why. You do something like that, and then a high school parent hears that,
Strike
it's like,
three.
That's why she
your
left.
wife left you.
That's why she left you, Mike. Yeah.
She couldn't put up with this anymore, Mike. Your judgment's terrible, Mike.
She leaves you because of your bad eyesight, Mike.
Because you're blind, Mike. That's why you never told her she was pretty. Just dig the wound. Yeah, so I don't know, to the writer. I mean, one technique I think is I do think that there is something to be said for humanizing, right? And so you could, coach your young officials, and they're going to generally be officiating younger games. I think if you're a kid, you generally officiate youngsters. And so, encouraging them to go say hi, to both sides, introduce themselves to the coaches, and just to ask the coaches like, hey, can you please be responsible for your own parents and stuff too? I like it whenever the sport has a rule, like where your team gets punished if the parents harass the ref. And so I've had that announced too. At a soccer game, they told us, like, if you make the ref feel uncomfortable or if you say anything, they can punish the team. And so, yeah, obviously they can expel the parent or whatever, but they can also punish the team. So that brought us into the game in that sense, that we were like, all right, hold on, like, don't do anything stupid. So we self-monitored, like if somebody's getting too loud, we're like, all right, chill out, Jerry, like we don't need another, penalty here.
Yeah. My little brother is a high school soccer coach.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And he tells the parents, he's like, if you yell at the refs, I'll kick you out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I think it comes down to the coach's responsibility.
He's like, I don't want to be on the refs' bad side. The refs are here doing their thing, and we're whatever. I'll just kick you out of the stadium. Obviously you can't enforce that on away games,
right?
But in their stadium, he's like, yep, you'll just be out.
I think that's a great idea.
That's a good. Yeah,
he tells the players too. If you have a problem with the ref, you talk to me.
Yeah, you don't go to the ref.
Yeah, you never talk to the ref. You talk to me, and I'll talk. If I think the ref needs to be talked to, I'll talk to the ref.
That's exactly how. That's
professional.
professional.
Some good advice.
That's really good
advice. To
advice.
get the coach on the side.
Get the coach on the side. So tell
talking
those
to the
young,
coaches is always good.
Tell the young umps, don't be shy. Don't just go out there and not introduce yourself and do your job, because then you're part of the furniture. Mm-hmm. Don't do that. Get humanized. Introduce yourself to both coaches. Tell them your name. If you're a youngster, tell them, hey, I'm 16. Please keep your families in line. Like, I would appreciate that. I'm just a kid. That I think is, but humanizing I think is the number one way to get rid of that.
I think the only other thing that I would add to that too would be to whatever call you make, do it with confidence.
Yeah.
And I think you have to develop some really good confidence.
Never
if you're
undo
be an umpire.
the call. Yeah. No, don't do that.
If you're calling balls or strikes, do it with confidence.
Yes.
Don't look as though you're having second thoughts like, oh, maybe that I made the wrong
to
call.
me, the rule of sports
has
always been that when you average out all the calls, it'll mostly be a fair game, right? And so, like, I get bad calls, and we get good calls sometimes. And so, like, I don't know, obviously it's different every time. So, yeah, I think that's good advice. It's very hard to tell you, here's how you can stand up to emotional abuse at your job and have it be this level of verbal assault and sometimes physical assault, and here's how you can get through it. I mean, besides putting in headphones and using just your eyes, or besides doing some self-talk and telling yourself, they're not mad at me, they're mad at the game. They're not mad at me, they're mad at their kid, but they can't say anything to their kids. They're calling me out. This is how they're encouraging their son, is by saying, way to go, ref, or something like that. That's a signal they're sending to their kid to be encouraged. So don't take it personally. They're just yelling at officiating in general. It's not me. But if you can't do that, that's going to be hard.
Learning to disassociate, to depersonalize information. Yeah.
I think that might be the only real advice for the person doing it, besides the practical steps like Jacob's talking about. Talk to the coaches, introduce yourself to the sidelines, hold some people accountable. But, it's really hard to manage.
Yeah, because what other job do you have like that where you're going in and you're, harassed?
Yeah, teaching. Teaching was like that. Teaching was like that. You'd get harassed by the students, and you try to put them down and get them to chill out. Then you get harassed by the parents because they're like, well, my kid's not doing good. And you're like, yeah, it's because your kid's terrible, and he doesn't do anything. He doesn't turn anything in. Well, what are you doing about it? I'm the teacher. I'm up there. Well, what are you doing about it? Well, you should fix them. You're the professional. My taxes pay your... It's horrible. That's why there's no teachers. So, this is in that same basket. So, hang in there, man. Mo, good question. I think that a lot of people resonate with that. And if you're, out there officiating and trying to serve the community, just remember, man, you're appreciated, and don't let people hit you where you live, because they're more mad at the game and more mad at the play of others and, officiating in general than you. But yeah, humanize yourself, introduce yourself to others. I think that's a really big help.
Yep. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will discuss what to do when counseling takes you to a deep, dark place. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
This week's TheraProducer sponsor is Kyla Lansbury. Kyla was a former vice president and presidential candidate under Walter Mondale. Seen as an underdog, selected Lansbury to be as his running mate in the upcoming election. Kyla became the only Italian-American to be a major party national nominee, in addition to being the first woman. The positive polling the Mondale-Lansbury ticket received when she joined soon faded, as damaging questions arose about her and her businessman husband's finances and wealth, and her congressional disclosure statements. In the general election, Mondale and Lansbury were defeated defeated in a landslide by incumbent President Ronald Reagan and Vice President George H.W. Bush.
If you know who Jim is actually referring to, write
Write
your
in.
answer on the back of a $20 bill and send it to Pod Therapy.
I should start doing that. If you'd like to join Kyla and make the show possible, you can go to www.patreon.com/therapy and sign up. We're back. You're listening to Pod Therapy, and our next question is about the deep, dark place of emotions. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What do you do when counseling has taken you to the place that is too difficult to get back to, causing you to stop going, and now you find yourself open, vulnerable, and in a very, very dark place emotionally? From Anonymous.
That's a really good question. And I think a lot of people are scared of that because there is like an emotional surgery component to therapy. And a lot of people are very fearful that we're going to go somewhere that it's the closet of my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't go in there for a reason. And I'm scared of it. And it's like, I don't want to go down that hole. A lot of people are afraid that they can't come back. Like they're afraid they're going to find some pain in there that is so profound and so beyond them that they won't be able to come back. And I think the great irony as therapists is that, yes, we have to encounter that because if we don't, it will always seem that scary to you. We kind of have to like help you get through it by taking you to it.
Yeah. I mean, ideally that's what's going to be happening in therapy.
Yes.
Now, it's not always going to be, I think the thing that scares people is because they view this opening of this wound as just very rough and hazardous and you would just tear it open, right? But it's not really like that.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's kind of, I mean, every therapist kind of has their different techniques and maybe has a different approach or different theory that they're using.
Right.
But for the most part, it's kind of a slow, stable part where we get to where it feels uncomfortable and then we teach you how to get out of that discomfort.
Yes.
And then we go back in a little bit further, let you get uncomfortable, and then teach you how to get back into a comfortable space.
Yes. I think, and you know, what's interesting about this writer, and maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but hopefully I'm not off the mark here. I think they're saying, what do you do when you go to therapy and things get too raw, too real, and you stop going?
Yes.
And what do you do now? So, you know, I'm sure, surprise, surprise, you anticipated that we were going to say, go back. Like we weren't going to say, hey, don't go back anymore. You should never be made to feel like really uncomfortable. Like obviously if you don't trust the abilities of the therapist, that's one problem. But here's something I'll caution you with. So whenever we have a session with a patient, we have what's called a therapeutic hour. And a therapeutic hour is usually 50 clock minutes. And the reason it's not 60 is because we need 10 minutes to like do paperwork and prepare for the next session, right? So it's 50 minutes. Everybody knows this. It's not a secret. And so it's really hard if you think about it. In 50 minutes, we have to greet you. We have to break the ice again. Even if we know you pretty well, we have to kind of do some little chit chat just to kind of get you back in your element, get you back in the room. We usually are going to do some recapping and kind of warming up to like help you remember what we've been talking about. We're going to do some check-ins because we want to make sure that we're up to date with your life and knowing about the day-to-day, what's been going on. Even if we're talking about deep, dark past stuff, we still want to know what happened Wednesday and, you know, what you're doing at home and at your job. And then we're usually going to pivot to some kind of action, which for us could be Socratic questioning and taking something deeper. It could be doing a technique. And so what's interesting about that, writer, is you got to think to yourself, when we're doing this emotional surgery, we may only have 20, 30 minutes to get in there. And we do generally try to what we call sew you back up before you go back into your day. We try not to finish the session with you being absolutely raw and unsafe to go back out into the world. We want you not to be crying. We want you not to be unhappy and like, you know, worried. We want you to be able to walk out. So we usually try to ice it back up to chit-chat mode and kind of use comedy or something to kind of bring you back. But you got to think now, we're talking about a very small window of time that we can get that deep with you. In the 24 hours of your day, you know, we're talking 30, 45 minutes tops. So what that means, writer, is that if you've had one of these raw, deep dive experiences and it's shaken you up and then you left and didn't come back, you're kind of depriving us of our ability to really come back, visit that, and address it. Think about it like surgery. You know, we start, you know, doing the surgery work and cutting a person open and they get off the table and leave. that's very bad for both of us. I
Right.
want you back here. I want to finish this work. And I realize that, you know, you're scared and you're seeing this all happen and it's frightening you. I need you to come back, though, because this process was begun and now we really do need to bring it to a resolution.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that I have. Kind of like, how did this
Sure.
happen?
Yeah.
You know, like, was this something that the therapist just was not aware that you weren't put all the way back together before you left?
Yeah.
Or is it something that, and I hope this isn't the case, were they aware but they were just negligent and didn't have
Sure.
time to do it? I don't know what the story is.
I would say that's pretty rare.
I would say it is
Most
too.
trained
I would
therapists
say,
know enough. You know,
Yeah.
going back to the first question about comedy as a defense, I've noticed that sometimes where my person is so uncomfortable and like at the end they start making jokes and stuff and I think, okay, we're back at the surface level again. They walk out and then they're crying in their car and I have no idea.
right.
And then I don't see them for a while. And then they come back like a month later and I'm like, hey, you dropped off the radar. Are you okay? And they're like, man, I was really shaken up after that last one. And I'm not used to emotions and I'm not used to my truth. And I didn't know what to do about it. And I'm like, why didn't I know that? Like, you need to
Right.
come back and tell me these things. You shouldn't be wandering off to the woods to try to deal with it yourself. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
That is literally my job.
Well, it's kind of a partnership thing. Like, everybody
Yeah.
has equal stake or equal responsibility in making sure that this gets addressed. Like,
Right.
you should never have to leave your therapist's office not feeling put back together.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel that way, you need to be able to communicate. On the
Right.
other hand, the therapist should be asking questions to try to
Right.
figure that out. I always got into a habit of utilizing scaling questions.
Oh, yeah.
So I utilize scaling questions in the beginning of the session and then at the end to assess where the person's at. So if they come in, I can ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extremely comfortable, 1 being exactly opposite. Where would you say you're at now?
Oh, yeah.
And then that gives me my baseline where they came in, and then I'll ask them again when they leave. Where are
Yeah.
you on this scale?
Mhm.
And even if they're scoring higher, I would still ask, now, do you feel okay to leave?
Yeah.
Do you feel
right.
all right? Or
Right.
is you're at a 7? Is that good enough for you to get through the day and you're going to be
Yes.
okay with that? Just to kind of throw it back. So they have multiple opportunities to tell me something isn't right.
And this is the thing though to the writer. Again, thinking of therapy and it isn't always emotional surgery. Sometimes somebody comes in with a very practical thing and they say, hey, here's my practical problem. Can you please help me change my life? And so I can address this practical problem. Yeah, okay, that's not quite as deep. If we're talking about trauma, or we're talking about, or, we're here addressing a practical problem, but we see a loose thread and we kind of pull on that thread and it turns out that, whoa, that led all the way down to this deep, dark place. And so we don't want to just ignore it and pretend that wasn't there. Like, that's what we're here to do. We're trained to do this. It's okay. And so, yeah, we will go there. And so it is possible during the therapy process that there will be some days that you do kind of walk out of there and you're walking down the office hallway and you're getting to the lobby and you're getting to your car and you're just kind of standing there almost stunned for a minute because you're like, whoa. And I'm going to challenge you because you're not used to this, right? You went to an emotional place that you hide from, that you avoid. You've been so avoidant of emotions for so long. Yes, this is going to feel very strange to you. But if I can challenge you, Anonymous, that's why it's working. It's the same way that whenever you're working out and you feel that burn and you feel that change and you're like, oh my gosh, why do I hurt? Why am I sore? Well, it's because you did something you don't usually do. You're using muscles you don't usually use. And in therapy, you're using these emotional intuitions and changes and experiences that you're not used to. And so, yeah, you might feel shaken up, raw, exposed, vulnerable, nervous about it. And that's actually okay. Best practice, I want to walk you out of that office knowing that you're completely put back together. But at the same time, I have to accept that you might not be. And that's okay. And I'm going to send you home with that because I want you to be wrestling with some of this and come back. And let's keep doing the work.
Yeah, definitely don't give up on the process because
yes,
the same thing would go if we're talking about exercising, go to the gym.
Right.
You go to the gym and then you come back the next day, you're sore and it hurts.
Well, I'm not going back.
Yeah, no, that's
place
when you
hurt
need to
me.
go back.
Yeah, no, it's working.
Exactly.
That's how it's working.
It's going to feel that way for a little bit. But you're going to be okay in the long run.
You are going to be okay. So to the writer, go back. What you're experiencing, that feeling of being exposed, to being vulnerable, to having touched something emotional inside of yourself that you just have been ignoring for a long time, don't run from that. Your emotions will not kill you, okay? Nobody's ever died from emotional attack. Let us guide you through it. Don't run. And if you commit to the process and you lean in, more often than not, you'll find that you'll get exactly where you needed to go. but don't give up.
Yep. Thank you for writing in.
Great question, man. That's raw and real. I love it. So we're at the part of the show where we have some announcements. We got a letter, an update from Robert Paulson, who's got some good advice. And we want to do our thanks for our Patreons. But first, we have an announcement. So for several months, we teased the great Pod Therapy Pinewood Derby. The Pinewood Derby is a Boy Scouts thing. They take little Cub Scouts, not Boy Scouts. Sorry, thank you for correcting me. You explained this to me last night. So it's a thing where they take these little wooden boxes, pinewood boxes, little squares of pine wood, and they carve them and they turn them into little race cars. And there's rules; it has to be under 5 ounces. But then they go down this ramp, and then whichever kid's car is the fastest, that kid wins, and they decorate them, and it's all good fun. So since my kid is in Cub Scouts, I announced that we were going to invite people to send in cars, and Nick agreed to do it since he's an Eagle Scout. Jacob, I don't know if you knew that, but Nick's an Eagle Scout. It's on his business cards.
It's never come up.
Yeah. It's usually how he introduces himself. But yeah, so we went to this thing, and we had a great time. Nick and I were both there with my family. All little scouts were there. They made tons of great cars. It was a lot of fun. But listeners of the show submitted cars.
So you spent more time hanging out with kids?
Yeah.
Good.
Legally. Legally and in a healthy way.
Believe me, his mind was all on his car.
I was obsessed. I didn't even know where my kids were.
Yeah, would lose track of the kids, but always knew where his car was.
Yeah, I was staring at it the whole time, getting really upset when like the older Boy Scouts were coming over to help officiate the race. And I'm like, that kid's not even wearing gloves, Nick.
I know.
Like, how can I trust him? So it was really fun. We had a really great time. We did get official results, but I have spent the night reviewing the video of the results, and officially, here's the Pod Therapy results. I have to announce them, but I also have another special announcement. So in point of fact, my car defeated everybody, okay? And I think I would have won the whole dang race if they wouldn't have broken the stupid machine.
Except for that little Rodriguez kid.
Yeah, Rodrigo. Yeah, that kid whooped me.
He kicked your ass.
He beat me by like a fraction of a second out of 2 races. And you saw that one heat where I beat him, but that one didn't count. Because the machine was broken.
Let me point out that it's always the tense in which you talk about this is always your car.
Yeah, my son's car.
Which proves my original
son's car
point.
Beat him.
It was you versus this Cub Scout.
It was me versus all the Cub Scouts. So, all right. So anyway, I smoked everybody. My car was called the Blue Cheetah. And I did smoke all of the Pod Therapy submissions as well. And I smoked all the parents. However, upon talking about it with my wife, she pointed something out. I bought my car. So I did not hand fabricate my car. I'm not a handy guy. Disqualified. And so I agree. So
you mean you didn't even cut it?
Oh no, I did not like from the block of wood, I did not create that shape. So I did not cut the car out of that block of wood.
So you didn't do anything.
So I received that car in the shape that it is.
Oh.
I put the axles on. I polished the axles. I put the axles on. I put the graphite powder in, and I put the wheels in. And then I painted it.
No.
So I agree. Nick's face is horrified.
I am so pissed.
Did you have like a dark night of the soul last night when I beat you?
Well, first of all,
you could not be an Eagle Scout.
First of all, when I left for the race, Laura told me, she says, come back a winner or don't come back at all.
So Nick's car was impressive. I will brag on your car. This is actually what caused me to get honest. Nick's car is well done. So I've watched all these YouTube videos about the physics of the game and like exactly what you got to do. Nick's car was handcrafted. He actually chiseled it with like a screwdriver and a hammer, like shipping away the wood. Then he sanded it all these extra times. Then he put water on it, left it out overnight so that the grains of wood would like rise in the dryness of the water. Then he sanded that away. He drilled holes in the back at exactly the right like dimensions of where you're supposed to put the extra weight. And he put those little tungsten pellets in there and then like closed that all up. Then he bent his axles in the exact amount that you're supposed to like get maximum like leverage against the track. Then he actually bent one in such a way that it removed one of the wheels from the track to decrease friction with it was ridiculous good.
And I still lost.
And he still lost. He still lost. And that made me feel bad because then I was talking to Jill, like, I destroyed him. And she's like, yeah, you screamed that a lot. And I was like, yeah, I know. She's like, you bought yours, right? And like, that's good for our kid. Like, a lot of the other dads bought theirs and you beat them, but Nick handcrafted his. And she's like, so did the Pod Therapy people. And I was like, she's right. So I don't mind the fact that I did take home a medal. I took home a medal in the parents'
No,
race.
you didn't.
Oh, I have it. I have it.
Oh, in the parents'
You
race.
left before it all
I
happened.
thought,
I beat all the parents, okay, and I took home a medal. So I got a first place medal for beating the parents.
Nah.
My son got a first place medal for beating his group of kids,
Nah.
okay? Yeah. So since I've already been so awarded, I have disqualified myself from the Pod Therapy races. Now, then I went back and watched the videos that you actually filmed, and I announced last night winners online, but those were wrong. I went back and looked at the videos, and so the real winners, if you look carefully, are the following. So Jim's disqualified. First place was Jake Schneider's Jake is number 1.
Oh, really?
He officially is in first place. He beat you in the first heat, and then he came milliseconds behind me in the second heat. And you came in like third or fourth in the second heat. And we'll go back and watch it. But Jake is number 1, which is not, it's not too bad to lose to Jake, because that one was legit. Like,
was a
he
good car.
also made a legitimate car.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of the same things
And
you
the
did.
front wheel broke off.
And he's pissed. Did you see on Facebook? He
No, I
was
didn't
like,
see it.
conspiracy!
It made it faster.
You
He
made
did
it
good.
faster, Jake. You're welcome. You won Pod Therapy's Pinewood Derby. I did not put the wheel back on because I told you it was going to work. So Jake is number 1, is the official first place winner. And upon review of the video footage, it has been concluded Judy Schneider's Batmobile came in second place.
Nice.
It did come in second place. Nick's CBT1 came in third place, and rounding out was Brooks Lyle and Jackson's Pegasus came in fourth place, but I'll have you know, was overwhelmingly the winner of the children's approval who attended the Cub Scouts, and also my daughter loved it.
Yeah,
So she says, Dad, I want the pig car. So it is now my child's toy.
They definitely got the fan favorite.
Yeah,
vote.
nobody cared about the rest of our cars. I thought the Batmobile would be a hit. And it was like, no.
Yeah.
Once I pulled out Pegasus, the kids were like, whoa, flying pig. And it was really cool. So like, they're a Pegasus. That's great. So yeah, that was the one all the kids liked. But officially, congratulations to Jake Schneider, who is the first place champion. I was DQ'd, Judy for second, Nick for third. Congratulations, Nick.
Thank you.
And Brooks, Lyle, and Jackson for their fourth place finish with the excellent car Pegasus.
Bought a car.
Oh, hell yeah, I did. And I won.
That's terrible.
Oh, I'm not the guy who's a Cub Scout. I don't have to be honest.
This tells you all you need to know about Jim.
There it is. So we also got an update from Robert Paulson, who wrote us a letter, and I'll just go ahead and read it. It's a really good one. Hey, guys, your suggestions to the listener from Dallas. Oh, this was in the previous episode, I think. So this is 62, I think, or 63. We had somebody that wrote in about how hard it is to find a therapist. And so Robert's talking about that. And he says, hey guys, your suggestion to the listener from Dallas didn't include checking if they have an employee assistance program. Even my cheap crap company has one of these. An EAP may be a good stopgap measure until an office visit is available. The EAP is not part of health insurance. Both fall equally under an employee benefit program. This means if you check what mental health services your health insurance offers, you may miss the EAP. I don't know if all EAPs are created equal, but I know mine offers the services that we're talking about, according to the link in the PDF that they sent me, and it's super cheap. It's only like $1 per employee per month. And yeah, so it covers lots of different things. So awesome thing with that, Robert. Good idea. And so if you're out there and you're having trouble finding a therapist, consider your EAP program. Employee Assistance Program could be part of it. That could be one more thing to look at. So thank you so much, man.
Okay, and then we have a big thank you to Kate Keller for the Pod Therapy comic.
She created the Pod Therapy comic, and she posted it on Instagram. That was so freaking cool.
Yeah, that was
She's
pretty
good
cool.
at drawing, man.
Yeah.
Did you see my notes? I sent her some notes.
I didn't understand it.
So I want my character to go Super Saiyan whenever we fight a mental illness. I'm also hoping that we fight mental illnesses because that hasn't happened yet in the comic. But I want all the mental illnesses to like be embodied by cool monsters.
Super Saiyan?
It's from Dragon Ball Z. It's like that.
Oh.
You probably don't know what I'm talking
No,
about. But
I don't.
There's an anime called Dragon Ball Z. Whenever the guy powers up, like his hair like goes from brunette to blonde, and he gets like all this energy. Whatever. Hate. And just for that, Kate, don't make Nick's character go Super Saiyan since he doesn't care.
Yeah,
also,
I don't.
Also, I want a sword. I want my character to have a sword. Okay, that brings us to apologies. I have a few. Dear my wife, Janelle, I'm sorry that when the Nevada legislature announced it will conduct a study of the conditions of our state's legal brothels, that I attempted to volunteer as lead scientist.
Of course you did.
I did. I sent it in like, hey guys, just so you know, I just believe in research. Just really want to see our state be the best it can be. I volunteer as tribute. Dear female astronauts, I'm sorry that when NASA announced the first person on Mars would be a woman, that I applauded NASA's way of finding a method to do the Mars mission for 70% of the original cost.
Oh,
That's funny.
I mean, that's efficiency. That's good economics. Great job, NASA. Very impressed. That's a lot of cost savings right there. We might get 2 missions out of this. Dear person who tried to scam my private practice by offering me a check for $4,000 in exchange for me giving them $2,000 cash, I'm sorry that I get all of my financial advice from Ice Cream Social and forced you to take your weak game someplace else. Also, if you're looking to scam somebody, you can email Nick at podtherapyguys@gmail.com.
I do fall for that shit a lot.
I only knew about it because on an episode of ICS, Matt talked about it. And because I heard that, that was the only reason I caught on to this. But it was like, oh, I want to bring all my daughters there. Can I just pay you in advance? And I'm like, okay. So it was like, can I buy this many sessions in advance? I'm like, okay. It's like 3 daughters, individual sessions, twice a week. So I was like, wow, it's a lot of therapy, but okay, fine. And then it was like, yeah, so I'm just going to give you a check for $4,000. Would you mind giving me back $2,000 in cash for the girl's driver, for transportation, and for other things? And I'm like, what? And then I was like, wait a minute. Matt talked about this in ICS. So thank you, Ice Cream Social, my favorite financial podcast. That's where I get all my tax advice.
It's a good spot for it.
That's where you want to get your information. So, all right, on to the Patreon stuff.
And we want to thank our newest TheraPal, Cindy.
Welcome, Cindy. Welcome
you.
to the party. And, of course, we have no TheraPod since the last show, but we want to thank our bosses, the Elite Eight, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of our fan club, the Theraproducers. Thank you, Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, champion of the Pod Therapy Derby, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Kyla Lansbury, David Data Scoop Violon, Judy Schneider, second place of the Pod Therapy Derby, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, and Dr. Ben Don, and introducing Ellie O'Dare, who basically said, to hell with your levels, I do what I want, and started giving us $20 anyway. We like your swagger, Ellie. Thanks for being awesome.
There were 8 seats at the boardroom table, and she
pulled up a chair.
She just snuck in the back and just sat on the table.
She just started upping her the $20, and I'm like, what just happened? She's like,
now.
I do what I want. I'm like, okay, welcome to the table. You just pulled up a chair, so thank you. If you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited and enjoy things like our book club and discussion groups, you can go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Thank you all for supporting mental health. That's all the time that we've got for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords, the Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Help us reach others by opening this episode's description in your podcast app and copying and pasting the link provided into your social media. Don't forget, you can find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter at PodTherapyGuys, and now at patreon.com/therapy.
If you want to submit a question to the show, ask anonymously at www.podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm the South Rainbow Leprechaun.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.